Welcome, everyone. Greetings. This is Eric Glazer, and you have logged in to the live recording of Bright Spots in Healthcare produced by Shared Purpose Connect. Each week, we bring to you leaders who not only are going to inform you, but also unearth bright spots and successes at their organizations, whether they be health plans, hospitals, other healthcare-related organizations around the country. Our leaders bring to you success stories because our goal is for you to hear about as many bright spots as possible so that you can determine if these ideas shared in our show can be applied at your organization. We believe this approach of finding a bright spot and cloning it is the most effective strategy to improving healthcare in our lifetime. I encourage you to subscribe to Bright Spots in Healthcare if you have not already. This allows you to get all these great recordings with all these great guests downloaded automatically to your smartphone or tablet. You don't need to do it to listen to my voice, but fortunately, I have some exceptional guests with exceptional ideas that each week join the show and provide all kinds of insights that could benefit you professionally, your organization, and certainly the consumers or patients that you serve. So I encourage you to subscribe to Bright Spots in Healthcare. Our esteemed sponsor for today's episode is Healthy.io. They are the newest partner to the Bright Spots in Healthcare show, and we are really excited to begin working with them. They are an exceptional organization, a really cool organization, to say the least. I would describe them as an innovative healthcare company that uses smartphone technology, the smartphone you have, to make remote clinical testing possible. I'm going to give you some more details about their organization later on in the show. Meanwhile, you could check them out at healthy.io. All right, let's jump into this because this is a topic near and dear to my heart. We're going to cover this. We're calling it the power of group appointments, but it's more than just that. It's the power of peer influence in bringing better results and adherence. And if you are a health plan or a self-insured employer, this should be part of your benefits package. And because it reduces costs and it improves outcomes. And if you're a provider organization or a medical practice, you should be doing it for the same reasons and more because you've got business reasons tied to it as well. So, there's this quote from Bill Gates: vision without execution is daydreaming. So we are going to talk today more about execution than the vision. And to do that, we've brought together this panel of key stakeholders that make up the program. So really excited to have everyone here today. I'm just looking at my screen to see, okay, Wayne's in. Welcome back. So Wayne Altman is the physician, president of the Family Practice Group, part of the Segov Center for Family Medicine, which is affiliated with Tufts University School of Medicine. His lifestyle and wellness groups that he and Carrie Hawkins created, and you'll meet Carrie in a moment, they enable countless patients to lose thousands of pounds in total. Wayne is the chair of the Department of Family Medicine at Tufts University School of Medicine. He also is an adjunct faculty member at Harvard Medical School and the University of Massachusetts Medical School. He's basically got the entire map of Massachusetts covered. Excited to have him here, and he's sort of the founder of this program, so he'll give you his perspective. Carrie Hawkins, who I mentioned earlier, she's a registered dietitian and a certified personal trainer. She was awarded the Young Dietitian of the Year Award from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics in 2010. She also served as the president of the Massachusetts Dietetic Association in 2012 and 13. Also a wellness blogger. You can check out her blog, really interesting. I checked it out the other day, perfectpearcoaching.com. That's perfect pear, like the fruit, P-E-A-R, coaching.com. Sherry, our producer, will post that in the chat so you have access to that link. Now, the stars of our show, in my opinion, they're going to be Kelly Hurley, who's the volunteer community group leader for the program and also the first ever kindergarten teacher to be on our show. So welcome, Kelly. And Susan Cook, who is a participant in the program, a patient. She's going to provide you with her experience, her perspectives on what that group brought to her and her peers within the program. And last and certainly not least, joining us in a little bit will be Dr. Diana Crook. She's also a family medicine doc. She's actually out in Topeka, Kansas at an organization called Lake Point Family Physicians. And she's important because she adopted the same program that was launched in Massachusetts and brought it to Kansas. So you're going to hear a perspective of a practice that took the program and the blueprint and brought it to another market and how that's all working out for them. So really excited to have everyone here. A programming alert, we're probably going to go 10, maybe 12 minutes long. I know that's an unusual discount of punctuality for us. We're usually really good with the hour, but we have so much to cover and so many different stakeholders on the call today that we're probably going to go 10, 12 minutes long. So I'm going to start off and bring Dr. Altman on, and Wayne, why group appointments, and share with everyone what inspired you to build out such an initiative.
Thanks so much, Eric. Thanks for having me. I think that it was about 12 years ago, and I was very lifestyle medicine focused. I was very passionate about treating the long list of chronic diseases that we treat in primary care with lifestyle medicine. It turns out when you take a board exam and they ask you for the first line treatment for hypertension, diabetes, coronary artery disease, hyperlipidemia, all of these chronic diseases, the answer is always lifestyle, except we know to put it on the test, but as doctors, typically doctors pay it lip service at best and don't really take it seriously and give it the due, because it's not the path of least resistance. It's harder than prescribing medication. And so that's not my philosophy. That's not how I wanted to practice medicine. And I heard about a family doc up in Lawrence, Massachusetts named Jeff Geller, who had like 30 groups a week. And I said, I got to go see this guy. And I knew him. I'm a big fan of his. And so I went up to Lawrence and watched his group visit. And I was inspired to start group visits. And I had this idea that I really wanted to pair up with a psychologist, because I felt like weight loss and wellness, a lot of it was behavioral, which it is. And I met with this psychologist, and he was nice, but he said to me, yeah, you don't want to work with me. You should meet this person named Kerry Hawkins. I said, I don't want to meet Kerry Hawkins. I want to work with you. And he said, yeah, I'm out of here. Here's Kerry. And turns out Kerry was fantastic. Like, we were so aligned philosophically. It was a perfect pairing. And it was the summer of 2009. And we sat in front of a whiteboard on a summer afternoon at Tufts Medical School for 3 hours and put together the concepts that are still the core of the program to this day. We've updated things, of course, over the 12 years, but we put this program together. And what ended up happening is we started having these groups of people together who were struggling with overweight and weight-related illnesses. And the resonance between the different people and the shared experiences and the depth of understanding between these people. So often, Kerry and I have so little talking that we need to do, because when they talk with each other, I call it group magic. Eric, I mean, there are things that people with shared experiences can accomplish with each other that Kerry and I could only dream of accomplishing in a one-on-one healthcare provider patient scenario. And to think that we could accomplish everything we needed to accomplish with patients just in that, old school one-on-one setting was foolish. And Kerry and I thought the group magic would occur, and we were excited about where it would take us. But oh my gosh, it is beyond our wildest dreams, the degree that it has helped people transform themselves, and way beyond weight loss. I mean, it's about the way people feel about themselves, their quality of life, and it is probably one of the most gratifying things I've ever done in my career.
That's great. And there's the vision, folks, right? So I want to now jump into the how-tos and the execution. So Kerry, let's bring you in. I don't know how up to date you are. I think what I forget when I'm putting words in your mouth, but you said something like you guys were very aligned, mission aligned when you met Kerry for the first time. I don't know how aligned you are with, let's say, Seinfeld background and some of the other things that you're passionate about.
She's solid.
Good. So the important things. So Carrie, what are the key components? Like take everyone through the key components to the program, the key roles that need to be in place, and how do you organize all these things online?
So the most important thing for us when we created the program was to create a community. That was really the key component. And we wanted that feeling of community, not just it's an office visit, but that we're all coming together. And that was really important. The starting point of that is actually having two different healthcare providers. We like doctor dietitian combination, but it could be any combination, a nurse practitioner, a health coach, personal trainer, but coming together with different sets of knowledge and different backgrounds. When you bring that together, that creates kind of a background where patients can vibe off of different backgrounds and different people's thoughts and opinions. And that's really helpful. And then the other part about this that was really important to us is that we did not want to make this a weight loss program. That's not what this was. We wanted to make this about sustainable habits. And so that's what we kind of took the approach of, is that it's one habit at a time. It's not changing your whole life in 2 minutes and doing it for 3 weeks. It's one habit at a time, week by week, coming together. And we do this with basically a foundation of 5 concepts that we call the 5 dimensions of wellness. So we said, all right, we know when we look at wellness, there's lots of things that influence it, but what do we view as the core concepts that we want to make sure we include? And people usually, when we talk to them about this, they say, oh, diet and exercise, right? That tends to be the simple answer. But what we started to dive a little bit deeper in what we taught and what we thought and what our beliefs were. And so we talk about the quality of food. So that's dimension number 1. And that's going to be really about the types of foods people are eating. We talk about quantity of food, and people think about, oh, like portion size, which is what most of us think about, but we dive deeper into that. We talk a lot about mindfulness. We talk about how do you view your hunger and fullness cues. So we really want people to connect with their bodies and really understand that better. Then we get into exercise. With our patients, we're talking about moving their bodies in a way where our joke is that it's exercise if you need to take a shower after it. So we don't put a label, we don't put a definition of heart rate on it. We make it a pretty broad, so it's really obtainable and approachable for everyone. Then we talk about activity. This is a big one, especially right now for a lot of clients and people working from home, is this idea of how much time are we sitting versus how much time are we moving our bodies. Nowadays, a lot of clients have access to all types of Fitbits and all types of step counters on their phones, things like that. So we utilize a lot of the technology when we talk about activity. And then in the center is sleep and stress. And I think when Wayne and I started, we said, oh yeah, this is important. What's happened over the years is we've really, especially when it came to stress, we started to really understand the importance of self-compassion. So we've built a lot of discussion around self-compassion, especially as our groups start to bond together. So you've got your foundational concepts, you've got 2 providers working together, and then what is the program? Well, the program is 15
Carrie,
sessions. Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
I want to summarize for everyone.
Yeah.
Let me know if I get this wrong, just in case people missed it. 5 dimensions of the program: quality of food, quantity of food,
Yep.
exercise,
Yep.
activity, sleep, and stress.
Yes. And
Okay.
so we call that the 5 dimensions of wellness. So
Right.
that for us, every time we speak with our patients, at least one of those is touched upon in a session, often multiple are touched upon. So what happens is we get in a room together. Traditionally, we used to just meet in a room. Now we do it via Zoom, which is fantastic. I was worried. I wasn't sure, would Zoom create a group environment that was supportive? It was. And I've been so impressed with how our patients have adapted and actually really bond well over this. And what we basically do is for 15 sessions that occur over 20 weeks, we go through a curriculum that touches upon those 5 dimensions. At the end of every session that we meet, people take on a challenge, and the challenge is a group challenge. So we talked about community, and so we wanted our group members to experience something together and work on something together. And these challenges vary in all different types. Right now, we just started a no added sugar challenge with our groups. This is an awareness challenge to help people start to look at the foods that they're eating, and is there a lot of hidden sugar? Because a lot of people are shocked by that. We do challenges like a pedometer challenge. We do a sleep better challenge. So every week they're building a habit or routine and trying it out. The end result of this is that community feel. What we started to discover is that community doesn't just happen week to week. We needed our patients to be in touch with each other all of the time. So we generated eList. We looked at all kinds of technology. We've looked at all chat rooms, all these different things. We found simple email was the best. And this is what a lot of our patients feel is the secret sauce to our group. We have these e-lists that are their group and community members where they're emailing every day to each other. They're emailing, sharing stories. I am always surprised and overwhelmed with how much people give to each other on these e-lists. And that really is what the foundation of the support and accountability is for our patients, is the ability to communicate and build community around these concepts. At the end of the day, no one's doing the same thing. And that was our goal. We didn't want this to be a cookie cutter. Every single person is building their own wellness path based off of the challenges and based off of the community that they're building. So when they finish group with us, they have a sense of community with people that they still communicate and talk to now, which is amazing. Our e-lists never go away, so they can always reach out to their groups. And also they have their own version of wellness. It's not one size fits all in our groups. And that was really important to us.
Great. So, first of all, if anyone in listening wants to host their own webinar and podcast and have a lot of fun with it, one piece of advice I would give you is the guest that shows up last during the show, you put them right on the spot and ask them a question. So Diana, you're on mute. So go ahead and unmute. You're out in Kansas. You've already been introduced, by the way, earlier, so people know who you are. What attracted you to this program, and is it working the same way as Carrie described? So let everyone know sort of why you guys decided to adopt it in a completely different market in the country, and then and maybe any differences in how it's running, or is it the same? Still on mute. Sherry, can you help her out there?
I got it. Sorry. Okay. I was multitasking as usual. Yeah, I fell in love with this program when Dr. Altman came to Wichita, Kansas at one of our family practice conferences. And prior to that, I went on a personal journey to get healthier and realizing that what I did to my body mattered. And I thought it was maybe I was just turning 50, but no. So diet was what I was looking at, nutrition, physical health, sleeping better, stress management. So when he presented that, I said, holy cow, this is exactly what I needed. I needed that jump start. So, and, for me, as I've gotten towards the end of my career, I pride myself more in trying to help and educate people to really get healthy so that when I have all these wellness visits, they're actually wellness visits, not sickness visits. And a lot of people were striving for that same answers. They didn't want a pill for everything. They really wanted to look for healthy answers. And so for me, it was a great way to give a lot of good information in a 60-minute class with multiple people who needed to hear the same equation. And so we've done it nearly, I think I'm in my third or fourth year and done it, I call it my fall class and my winter class. And we even did a year of an advanced class with several of them that had taken the semester class, I call it, and did it for an entire year. And it's just been really wonderful to see how many people really thought they knew what they were doing. And they realized, no, I guess I don't know what I'm doing. And even we started our new session also with Zoom, and they're already holding themselves accountable. Well, I knew I had to come back next week, and I made myself do stuff that I wouldn't have done before. So a lot of it, these regular get-togethers, is giving the patients a little more accountability. And it's very hard to do that, to sort of schedule a doctor's visit one-on-one every week, every 2 weeks. This sort of group concept has been, I think, wonderful. And and you know what? My partners who see me on my Tuesday evenings get all giddy and happy, and the people are coming into the back kitchen back when we were doing, they're like, you look like you're having a lot of fun. I said, actually, this is the funnest moment of my work week, because it's just all about educating and helping people feel better about themselves.
Yeah. So just a quick note to our audience. I mean, this is the quintessential Bright Spot. And I just encourage people to share this episode, spread the word about this, because that's how this gets more widely adopted. The first episode we had when I relaunched the show about 3 years ago was on shared medical appointments with the leader of that program at Cleveland Clinic. And I'm just so excited we're back talking about it again, because I just think it is a key component to improving healthcare. So I appreciate those comments, Dinah. I'm going to bring you back into the conversation in just a moment. I want to bring in Kelly Hurley, who is a volunteer community group leader, and I don't know really what that means. So before Kelly, stretch out here, unmute. But Wayne, why don't you briefly set the stage for Kelly on the basis of having that individual role in the program, and folks listening, we're going to get into now how this program works and each participant in the program, so you can really get a feel for this. So Wayne, tee up Kelly.
Okay, I'm going to set the stage for Kelly Hurley. Okay, by the way, whose stage is awesome, has the best background of all of us. That is so perfect, Kelly. And we all know everything we needed to learn. We learned in kindergarten. So
there you go.
We have the perfect person here. So we had been doing groups for 6 or 7 years and having such success. And we thought, we really want to scale this up. How can we offer this to more folks? So we started a nonprofit called Wellness Campaign. And we started offering it to other practices and teaching other practices how to run these groups. Diana is one of our best and brightest of what we call our affiliate practices. And then we thought, how else can we scale up? Maybe we could get involved in a community setting. And I approached the city of Woburn, where I live. I talked to the mayor, the superintendent. They were very supportive. And we applied for a 3-year, $100,000 grant with the Cummings Foundation and received that grant. And in the first year, our goal was to find 20 people who would get trained, employees of the city of Woburn. Turned out to be mostly people from the school system, which is the biggest employer of most municipalities. And instead of 20, we got 50. And we got this group of 50 who in one program lost over 500 pounds, but more than that, they were so fired up. They were loving it. They were having a great time. They were talking about it all summer, well after the program ended, on the E-list, getting together for walks, a real cultural shift in this group of people. And then 20 of those 50 people said, let's keep it going. And we said, why don't you lead your own groups as lay people? And they were like, what? And we said, yeah, we'll train you. You got this. And then they did. And then they did their own set of groups. Carrie and I were hands off, and we trained them and supported them, but they led their own groups. And another set of like 8 groups and 80 people lost another like 500 or 600 pounds. And then we did it again with a bigger group in the 3rd year. And then at that point, Kelly kind of said, you know, I'm loving this. And Kelly just organically started forming her own group of these leaders, trying to just like, let's keep in touch with each other. Let's work on these concepts. Let's keep reinforcing these concepts. So Kelly became like the de facto leader of this community program. And as the funding ran out, it is now in year 4 with no funding, and it is sustaining itself because of Kelly.
I love it. So this is really one of the key ingredients to making this a scalable program within our healthcare system and within the markets that you all are listening from. And it reminds me a lot of AA, which I've done a lot of studying around the success of AA through the generation. So I'm excited, Carrie, your perspective, like Kelly, your perspective, like what's now, tell everyone who's listening and thinking, geez, we got to do this. What's important about your role? What should people be looking for to fill your role as group leader?
Oh, well, first of all, it's incredibly rewarding to be part of this huge wellness program in your own community. And like Wayne said, people talk about it on the streets. I heard about it. I heard about a YMCA, and it's just spreading, and people really want to be involved. And I think that this whole body approach to wellness as an ongoing habit versus this quick fix is really appealing to people, as well as the mindfulness approach to support them within this context of a group. And that accountability, I think that Diana brought up is huge. When you have that group that you're meeting with, you really want to do these challenges, and it's fun, it's exciting, you challenge each other, and you really learn something about yourself. So I think that as a coach, it's just exciting to see these people come together with a range of issues. So it might have been weight, an issue with weight. It may be that they want to lower their cholesterol. It may be that they have diabetes, that this really is helping them to look at all of these habits that they've developed over these years, and they can realize, I can actually change this. And I can change my habit. I never knew that I had these bad habits, and I didn't know that they could be changed. And I think it's really exciting to, as a participant, to realize that, and then as a coach to really support people through that.
So Kelly, if let's say a medical practice was launching the same program in a suburb of Las Vegas, and they brought you in, COVID's over, they brought you in, and you were in charge of maybe identifying and quote unquote recruiting a couple of community group leaders to keep this program really scalable. What would you be looking for when you interviewed these folks? What are some of the characteristics that our audience should be thinking about when they're trying to find more Kellys?
Kindergarten teachers.
Yeah, a lot of energy. I think that people who are, that want to be in a group, who love to be in a group and help people and support people in a group, people who are looking for that whole body approach to wellness, and that are interested in having an ongoing connection and support and supporting people for a while. So even though I've coached people maybe 2 sessions ago, I still have contact with them. We have contact with each other. So I think that you want to be a person that wants to build connections and participate and support. And also know it helps support yourself. It supports me. Because as I'm supporting people, I get to keep doing it over and over. I mean, I'm doing the no sugar challenge this week, right? So I think, that's a hard one. I think people who are just really enthusiastic about their own health path and really wanting to bring wellness to their community.
Okay, I'm looking for, that's great. And I'm going to skip around a little bit, guys, just because I want to keep us back on time, and there's some important parts coming up to this this interview. So let me jump in very quickly, Carrie, because I want people to hear the sort of the advanced provider's role and the dietitian's role in this program as people are thinking about it and writing down things and thinking, could I bring this to my group? If they're a plan, they're thinking about how can we fund this? So really fast, Carrie, what's sort of your role in this program?
Yeah, so my role, which was nice, is which is really nice as an advanced provider, is that we came together, Dr. Altman and I, on kind of an equal playing field, right? Both of our ideas, and we collaborated. And I think, especially as an advanced provider, it's really nice to have that experience where you're collaborating and creating something together, and sharing the stage, in a sense, in front of groups and in front of your patients, which is really a nice experience for an advanced provider. The other thing that I think is really different for me is that one-on-one sessions are great, but we know peer interaction and peer learning is the best way, hence why our community groups are still doing just as well. And for me to watch my peers and my patients all be able to collaborate and share and support each other, that's why you hear everybody here saying they love doing this, to watch people grow and to share, and not because of just one conversation, but because of connectivity. It's just, you can't create that in a one-on-one session, no matter what type of job you're in. And that's why this is so special to all of us, I think.
Great. Yeah. Quick logistical alert. We're going to be sending you in about 15 minutes, everyone. So 12:45 on the East Coast, an email with the survey so that you could help guide us on if you want to hear more topics like this and other topics you want to get covered throughout the year. We continue to work really hard to earn your hour of time each show. We don't take that for granted. We know you're busy. You probably make a good living, and we need to peel you away from something else to come onto these shows. So that survey is really important. And if you want more information about this program or programs like this, you can certainly indicate it in that survey that will come out at 12:45 East Coast time. So I want to bring in my opinion, no offense to everyone else, the star of this show. And the star of this show is Susan. And Susan Cook is a participant or past participant in this program. And Susan, what I think we all want to learn is, why did you join the program in the first place? And what was your experience like? So if you could take us through your story and as relates to this program, I think that would be really helpful for all of us.
I came to the program because my family practice physician, during a yearly physical, was very blunt about my ensuing medical issues. I was pre-diabetic, I was morbidly obese, I was on antidepressants because I was desperately unhappy. I had AFib, and I was, it was scary to say the least. I had sleep issues. And when we had that sort of frank, in your face talk, I started to cry, and he said to me, Susan, just because you failed before, it doesn't mean you'll fail again. And he told me about Dr. Altman and Carrie's program, and I did what I always did my whole life. I called the next day, and I was very discouraged that I wasn't going to get in to that program for 3 months, because in my experience, my desperation and shame over my weight, every time I heard of something new, I approach it like, well, this is the answer. You know, I heard about the cabbage soup diet. I ran and bought a bushel of cabbages. You know, I joined Weight Watchers maybe 6 or 7 times, and whatever the new thing is, I even dallied with the idea that if I wore a nicotine patch, maybe a nicotine patch, the way that it stalls nicotine cravings, it could stall my food cravings. I didn't try it, but I want you to know where my head was at, this level of desperation. So the 3 months that I had to wait, I had to really think about what was going to make this experience different from everything else that I tried. Because I knew if I wanted something different, I had to do something different. And by the time I walked in the door for that first session, I was very clear, in a way I never had been before, that this had to be more than about my weight. This had to be about my health. This had to be about the way that I live. And as a matter of fact, I told Wayne and Carrie, don't tell me every week if I've lost weight or not. Just, I don't want to know. I don't want the focus to be on this scale. I don't want my whole self-worth to be bound in that number that assaults you every week when you step on that scale. So Dr. Altman would give me, a finger arrow, if I was up, if I was the same, if I was down, and I just focus on my A1C numbers and my AFib, and I thought about, what is this life that I'm after? I wanted a larger life, a life that wasn't so wrapped up in the shame and regret over my body and over my decisions. And I know that we did early on, we did a urge surfing exercise. It was a meditation, and we had to imagine that we were hungry, and rather than succumb to the hunger by eating, we would picture ourselves on a surfboard, riding above the waves of hunger, just riding above it, riding it out. And, we had to close our eyes and do the typical, stance of meditation. And all I could see was my surfboard, and I'm on top of it, and swarms of sharks were underneath, harassing me with shame and recrimination and doubt, and they were trying to pull me over. It was the most excruciating exercise that we did in group. And I shared with everybody, I said, this was terrible. I couldn't quiet my mind from all of the harassment that those sharps became sort of the symbol of. And the one thing I learned at that moment was that the best thing that I can get out of this program was it was about changing my mind. Every other change came after. I lost 70 pounds. I haven't had an episode of AFib, in 6 years. My A1C is normal. All of those great benefits only came after I put my effort into changing my mind.
Hey, Susan,
Yeah.
could you expand a bit? What role did the other members in the group have in this whole transformation and mindset of changing your mind? Or was there any? Was it more the practitioners, or was it helpful to have the other, like, how do the other patients influence you, if at all?
Well, here's the thing. Well, thank you for steering me in that direction, because it played a powerful part. When we first opened, our first group, we all walked into that room, sat in a circle, perfect strangers. The door closed, and we became slowly but surely every week a bonded sense of strength. You know what happens when you share something out loud? It unmasks these shameful secrets that you've had inside, sort of festering. And then you say them out loud, and all of a sudden, you're certifying them in front of people that understand exactly what that means. You get to practice out loud what you're learning with the feedback from the group, their responses to your sharing, their body language. It's almost as if you slowly begin to, to hold arms, grab arms with everybody, and you're not individuals in that circle. You're one unit in that circle. And just being able to see somebody nod their head, and you just know that all of these hidden feelings are part of humanity in a way, that we all share them. As a matter of fact, one thing that I learned when I talk about changing my mind, I learned that it was after a holiday, and I knew I had overeaten, and I ate mindlessly, and I went on a walk, and I walked very hard. That's how I changed my mind. I talk to myself, and I repeat these mantras, the things that I've learned. And I said, I have to stop binging. I'm going to set my goal that I'm not going to binge anymore. And I felt my anxiety just loom up. And I realized that was a totally unrealistic goal for me, to stop binging. That created so much angst in my heart and in my body. I just have to accept that I have this little binge me character in the table, in the parts of me. I'm many things. I'm funny me, and I'm happy me, and I'm empathetic me, and I'm loving me, and I'm snarky me, and I'm patient me, and I'm binge me also. That binge me has been a part of me since I was young, and I'm just going to have to let her sit at that table. Sometimes she's going to take up too much airtime, and sometimes I'm going to just say, shut up. And
Hey, Susan,
and I played that out in the group, and I was able to clarify my own thoughts. And binge me, sort of, she's always there. Sometimes I have to just nod and say, oh, you're back again. But also I have other characters around that table. Like I have Susan for the prosecution, my sharks, kind of appear and begin to taunt me that I can't do this. I can't keep this up. This will not be forever. What arrogance? Who do you think you are?
Hey, Susan, I'm sorry to interrupt, but is there this incredible transformation in self-awareness? Have you been able to provide some of that back to the other individuals in the program? Like I hear how you've been transformed or it continue to be transformed. What about what's your role been with your peers in the program?
Well, I've been to several groups. When I did the first one, I knew that I had to keep going. And so my own personal journey was within the groups. And then after I did 5 of them, I think I did meetings with Carrie every couple of weeks because I was so determined not to go back. But then Dr. Altman asked me to speak to his medical students. So I was able to sort of share my journey with his medical students. And recently, Carrie and Wayne asked me to talk to their current group about the relapse discussion, which makes me think about how I've sort of created my own groups along the way whenever I've felt perfectly vulnerable. For example, when the quarantine started, I was terrified that being home all the time was going to just send me into a relapse. I am handling lapses very well. I know how to talk myself back on track. But I was, a lapse is like a speed bump, but a relapse is like a sinkhole. And I was terrified that I was going to, just drop into a sinkhole. So I called Dr. Altman. I said, I need to create a group. We're quarantining. I need to be able to connect with people. And he hooked me up with someone who is sort of like a soul sister, a spirit animal of mine. Later on, I joined another online group of people. And that's how powerful the group experience is, because it allows you to unmask these feelings that you're having and unpack them with people that know the vocabulary. When Kelly earlier said, I'm doing the no added sugar this week, I know exactly what she was talking about. I mean, we can talk about no added sugar. We can talk about the small plate challenge. We have this shared vocabulary that in an instant, we know exactly what the parameters are, what our struggles have been in the past, what has been made easier and what efforts it took to make it easier. The small plate challenge, for example, was in the section about portions. And I have been in this program for 6 or 7 years. And it took me 6 years to do that small plate challenge. Everybody else was doing it. And I thought, I cannot leave the table not feeling full. It made me so anxious. I couldn't do it. That's what the fear of I think I died of starvation in a past life. I don't know where this powerful
I just love the whole inspiration that you and your fellow participants have provided each other. It's really unbelievably inspiring to hear and hopeful, I think. And what I want to do for the group listening is I want to get into sort of what that means for the business. What does that mean for you as a health plan? What does that mean for you as a provider organization that may want to invest in such a program? So I want to get into that right now, because I think everyone listening is thinking this is all great and inspiring, but how do we make it work and sustainable as a part of our healthcare business? So let's get into there. Right before we do that, I for those of you who joined late at the beginning of the show, I announced that we have a new partner to the Bright Spots in Healthcare show. The name of the organization is Healthy.io. We're super excited that they're part of it and supporting the programming, so you guys get this each and every week. I want to tell you a little bit about them. They are a global leader, as I said earlier, in turning a smartphone camera into a clinical grade medical device for at-home urinalysis and digital wound management. Super cool. The aid in the diagnosis of chronic kidney disease, CKD, tied up is often obviously to diabetes, which is sort of an underlying theme here in this conversation, as well as urinary tract infections and prenatal testing, and is used by leading healthcare systems already around the globe. So it's really cool. They've been featured by CNBC, Fast Company, the Financial Times, and they've actually now they're contracted with and being used by the National Health Service in the United Kingdom because of the test's ease of use, the high patient adherence, and the huge potential cost savings tied to the kit. They are the first company to convert your smartphone into a clinical grade medical device to enable at-home testing. You could check them out at healthy.io. They have chosen to support our show, which I'm personally honored and privileged to have them part of this. And we've gotten to learn, our team has gotten to learn a lot about them and learn from their expertise. So if you want to learn more about, supporting diabetes programs and patients with at risk of CKD and their whole entire vision for their technology to improve primary and chronic care, I'm happy to make a personal introduction to someone on their senior team. That survey that you just received, there's going to be a question. If you want to be introduced to them, you can just click yes, and I will personally email you an introduction to someone on their team. Meanwhile, if you do want to read more about how to integrate digital health solutions into your primary care offering, there's this great article that I read on Kevin MD entitled "Primary Care Isn't Broken, It Needs a Better Support System." And we could send that to you as a PDF. I'm going to have Sherry put up a survey or a poll question, right now that would keep up throughout the next question. And it's not a promotional piece on Healthy.io. It is authored by their medical director, Dr. Jonah Mink, but it's not a promotional piece, I promise, but it just provides insights on how we can more effectively as healthcare leaders create a virtual front door around your value-based primary care strategy. So anyone that clicks yes on that poll that Sherry's going to launch will get a PDF sent to them so they could just easily access it. All right. So thank you guys at Healthy.io for being part of this, and look forward to having you on future programs. Wayne, I'm going to bring you and Diana back in, and I want to just let the world know now, how is this program and funded? It's called Wellness Group Visits, for those of you who have asked. How are you funding it?
You're talking about in the medical office, not in the community.
Yes.
Right. The community, of course, was a grant. So in a medical office, we are seeing, so let's say there's a group of 8 patients who are there for a 1-hour group. We will see the patients individually for a few minutes before the group, each of the 8, and then see them all together and bill the insurance company an E&M code for an individual visit.
Great. And Diana, can you talk, if you could expand upon that if necessary, and then talk about the clinical goals that you guys had in mind at your practice and some of the results, just sort of tie in sort of the economics to the results, because I think for our payer community listening, that's going to maybe resonate with them.
Yeah, I had one particular young woman that was getting ready to undergo bariatric surgery, and a lot of times they're required to go through a minimal 6-month program showing that they've made effort to lose that weight. She took it a step further and joined our wellness group so that she could educate herself so that when she did have the surgery, that would help her be more successful. So that was a tool that I felt like this was a good use of the program to help people get that criteria that was needed to have things like the bariatric surgery. And then, for us, a lot of it can be some of the biometrics that some of the workplace is expecting of them now to improve A1Cs and cholesterol and some of these other health issues so that they get a little bit money back with their employer if they're showing due diligence of making the effort to improve on their health.
Okay. And as far as, by the way, folks, we're going to take down that poll in about 30 seconds. So if you want that PDF sent to you, just click on yes. Wayne, do you have a thought, and I know this isn't necessarily anything that sort of you've done before, but if you were working at Blue Cross Blue Shield in Massachusetts or Tufts or whatever, what would be the business case that you would present to them and why this should be a promoted part of their benefit package and why they should be thinking about how to fund it even more aggressively?
Well, you already heard it from Susan. She was having AFib episodes and then stopped and hasn't had one for 6 years. and someone has an AFib episode and then needs cardioversion and gets hospitalized and gets blood clots and gets pulmonary embolisms and like the whole cascade of horrible healthcare events that occur for people that are very expensive. And what we've been watching in this program is people transforming the way they live their lives. And we see patient after patient stop their blood pressure medications, stop their cholesterol medications, cure their diabetes, stop their diabetes medications. In addition to all the medications, all the blood tests that are required when people are on those medications. There's a whole cascade of healthcare costs that go away for relatively short money in the scheme of medicine. Of all the things that cost money in medicine, office visits are not on the top of the list.
Yeah. And the fact that you could transform it to that community-led program thereafter, and when it's completely no cost, just seems like why not put a little bit of fuel, get the fire, and then it goes without you. I think it's a no-brainer. Two things. Wait, I want to tee you up because I want to talk to everyone about how to build it now. It struck me, if you're listening to this via podcast, you didn't have a chance to request that article I just referred to. So I'm going to set up a form on our website. So if you're listening on a podcast and you want to get that article by Dr. Jonah Menk, go to sharedpurposeconnects.com. That's the company that produces the show, and to put /healthy. So that's easy to remember. sharedpurposeconnect.com /healthy, and there'll be a small form. You just complete it. We'll email you out that PDF as soon as we receive your request. So Wayne, I'm going to actually put up another poll because I think people are going to want to learn more about this and get more details from you personally. So anyone that wants to kind of get connected with Wayne, I'll make a personal introduction to him as well. I just want to spread this virus, a good virus, find a bright spot and clone it. That's our mantra. So if you want to learn more about
spreading a virus is
the
term you want to use here, Eric.
I got it. All right, we'll delete that. But anyone that wants to clone this bright spot, which this is literally why we do this show. We'll put up a poll. Anyone that clicks yes, I'll personally introduce you to Dr. Altman. But Wayne, while that's up there, what are in fact, wait a minute, I don't want to make the same mistake twice. If you're listening to on the podcast, let's do sharedpurposeconnect.com /Wayne. Fill that out. I'll make a personal introduction to Wayne for you. So that's just same URL /Wayne, and we'll get you an intro to Wayne. So what are the first items you need to tackle when building this program? Like, what's the first thing you need to do?
Well, the first thing I did was find a partner. As a dietitian, I can tell you, Carrie was talking a little bit about this, but there's so much synergy in an MD or a primary care provider, could be an MD, NP, PA, who partners with a dietitian. We get so many questions, question after question after question, both in person and on e-lists. And some of the questions are really medically oriented questions for me to answer. And some of them are, how many calories in a tomato after you cook half of it? I have no idea how to answer these questions. Turns out Carrie knows the answers to all of them. It's so fantastic. And Diana, you have Renee, and so
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about.
Had that answer just yesterday. Somebody wanted to know how many fat grams are in out of, I'm like, Renee, you got it. Yeah, that I have to agree. That partnership with a nutritionist or dietitian is, for me, extremely crucial. And when you have the meetings, we kind of bounce off of each other, and it's a good balance.
So that's ingredient number one. Ingredient number two is you need to get buy-in from the bean counters in the practice, the compliance people, the bean counters, the managers, etc. You need to tell them you want to do a wellness group visit. You have a model for how to do it, and they need to buy in. I can tell you, if I had a dime for every family doc that's come up to me and say, I want to do group visits, and then never did them, I'd have a lot of dimes. And the reason is because there are a bunch of details that you have to put together before. If it was as simple as walking into a room and there were 10 people waiting for you, that's the fun part. Like, that's the cool part. But you have to recruit the patients and find them. And you have to send out a flyer, and you use your patient portal, and you tell patients about it, and you tell your practice partners about it and make a list and then call people up. And then you say you want your admin person to call them up, but patients don't listen to admin people. They only listen to the doctor. And so the doctor, even the dietitian, the doctor actually has to spend some extra time calling people up and telling them why this would be great for their health. And the patients typically respond to those phone calls going, I can't believe my doctor's calling me and giving me a special phone call to help me out. This is so great. And they'll often tell in the group, like they'll remember that time that their doctor called them and how meaningful that was to them. And so you've got to figure out how you're going to recruit folks. You've got to figure out how you're going to document. You've got to figure out how you're going to bill for it. You've got to get the bean counters involved. You've got to get your dietitian. And you've got to get your curriculum together and kind of a guide. And so what we've done at wellnesscampaign.org, and Diana's the perfect example of this, we have about 15 affiliates who are from Wichita, Kansas with Diana, to one coming up in North Carolina, to a bunch of folks in New England. We've got folks that we walk them through all of that from soup to nuts and kind of help them get to the finish line. And once they get there, like once Diana got there, she really needs very little from us. We help her out from here and there, set up the e-lists, but she's off and running now.
So let me summarize that real fast for everyone. This is what I got. I got sort of maybe 5 big steps here for everyone, because I was taking notes if you at home weren't. First of all, partner with another practitioner, preferably a dietitian. That doesn't necessarily, I think Carrie's words, not mine, doesn't necessarily have to be a dietitian, but partner with a dietitian or another practitioner. Talk to an accountant or a finance person around just the dollars and cents, so you have a good understanding of that.
Especially to get buy-in in your practice.
To get buy-in within the practice. Then the physicians have to be active in recruitment. We call that sort of in the marketing world customer acquisition. It's no small task, but you're going to have to commit yourselves to some time. So you have to have that allotted. 4 is actually 4 and 5 combined is plan out your curriculum, almost a syllabus, and then have in place reporting and documentation is number 5. So curriculum, and then have in place how you're going to report, measure, document everything that's going on in the program. Those are the big 5 kind of pieces.
You got it, Eric. I'll add one other piece to this, which is the philosophical alignment. And you saw Diana when I was talking in Wichita at that conference about this. She knew she was philosophically aligned with this immediately. And it's that passion that comes from this philosophical alignment that you join up with the dietitian with the same passion and the same philosophy, and then boom, that's what helps it take off.
Right. And remember, if you didn't get that, if you want to be introduced to Wayne and get a personal, to get more details on all this, you should have clicked on yes, and you could certainly email me at eglazer@sharedpurposeconnect.com. Wayne, is there anywhere else they could find you? Are you on social media or on the web, or where could people find you?
Yeah, I have I'm not used to answering this question.
I'll answer it for you. You can find Wayne on Twitter, but also if you go to wellnesscampaign.org, there's an email address that goes to both Wayne and I. I tend to get it first, and then I direct it to Wayne. So you can definitely, that's also the role the dietitian often will play.
Yeah, I like so Sherry could get this for the chat window, wellnesscampaign.com.
.org.
Excuse me, wellnesscampaign.org. I mean, this is the second time in about a year and a half Wayne's been on the show. I've asked him all kinds of complex questions. I've never got him caught off guard until where could people find him? I love that. All right. Diana, what are some of the challenges that maybe one's going to face when starting a program like this? Could you like what sort of didn't go terribly smoothly when you started building?
No, sometimes there are people that honestly do not want to be in a group. I've had a few, they're like, I don't want to be in a group. And I'm like, okay, this is really a group effort. We all gather together and we talk amongst ourselves and we're all on the same journey, but there really are people that don't want to be in groups. So I make sure they understand it's group, and that I really try to, also let them understand that this is almost a 5-month commitment to really look at the next 5 months, because I don't want anybody to get halfway into it and then they didn't really look at their calendar. So I tell them it's like taking a college course, and you're going to learn a lot, but it's going to be worth every
And why,
penny.
why 5 months? Why not 8? Why is that a number that, is there some,
You know, it's 15 classes.
okay.
And for me, I wanted to get them ability to be accountable for as long as I could. And one of the things that Wayne directed me was, as we get towards the end, they almost rely on us a little too much. Some of them at the very end are not wanting to stop the class. They want to keep coming every week. So we want to kind of get them to be able to move away from the class and rely on their own 2
Teach them the
feet.
fish, yeah.
Absolutely. They certainly can take the course again in the following year. And we take the summer off because summer's awful hard for people to commit. And I think I'm finding the hard way that you almost have to really recruit twice as many people as you think, because they say yes in the room. And then I call them and they're like, and I've even had some the day of the class, say like, I'm not doing it. So just like we get excited about recruiting patients, they got to get excited like Susan is, I'm ready to do this. Because some of them, it's not in their wheelhouse yet, even though they know I got health problems, I've got issues, I need to address it, I'm not quite ready. So I have a lot of them that says, can you call me in the fall? And I said, absolutely, you're on my list. So that's some of the struggles that I think I've had. And then of course, we were midway through our course last spring when we hit the pandemic. And that was tough to go from an in-house presentation, which they all love, to Zoom. That was complicated. So now the fact that we've got the opportunity to stay Zoom, that's a little bit better transition than going live to Zoom and back and forth. So it's nice that maybe the future is you can either come live to the class or do a Zoom, as we don't know where the future is going to be with everything that's going on in our world. So.
Great. I know, folks, we're going a little bit over. I warned you. We're down to our last question. So I'm going to start with like Carrie and Wayne and Diana, if you want to jump on this. Just what if anything would you do differently if you were starting this for the first time tomorrow?
So what we really learned, and Carrie really helped bring me along with this, is that you can talk about healthy eating and exercise and steps and sleep and all that stuff till you're blue in the face. If your patient is struggling with self-compassion and their inner dialogue is really self-critical, it really makes people stuck in ways that they can't get unstuck. And so what Carrie and I have done is we've evolved the program to constantly revisit the concept of self-compassion and to help people get to a better place with self-compassion. And by the way, just in case anyone's wondering, a doctor telling a patient to be nicer to themselves is not the technique we use, because that's a nice idea, but it doesn't work. It's just like saying you should eat less. That's a really good idea.
And you can see, just to kind of piggyback on that, just Susan brought to us and with her story, this concept about changing your mind. And now we incorporate that a lot when we talk to our patients, that it's about changing your mind and about really self-care beyond beyond all the weight loss goals or beyond all the metrics. For a lot of our patients, they're really looking to feel good about who they are as a person, and for long periods of time have not felt that way.
Love that. Good habits are the key to all success.
Eric, can I add a quick comment?
Of course, Susan.
So one of the most powerful realizations that I've had is that you don't have to believe everything you think.
Yeah.
That, you have sitting at my table is the prosecutor and the defender. And when that what you think about yourself are these random thoughts that really have no meaning. So I think that's all about changing your mind. You don't have to believe everything you think.
Those are one of the many Susanisms,
Yes.
Eric.
You don't have to believe everything you think, right? Did I get that right?
You did.
Yeah. What a great way to end the
that
show.
It was like taking a minute to kind of wash over you.
No, it was great. I love a good quote and good ending like this. So I'm going to let everyone go. I know we're 5 minutes over, but I think that was really good and efficient relative to what I thought we had planned. So this was really cool. I want to thank all of you. It's been such a privilege to have all of you on the show at the same time, providing your perspectives. You could find Wayne. He did post his Twitter handle on the chat. But for those of you listening at home, it's Dr. Wayne Altman, one word, Dr. Wayne Altman on Twitter. Reach out to him there or through the wellnesscampaign.org, as Carahan mentioned. Thank you all. Also, remember, you got to check out Healthy.io. I mean, the first company to convert your smartphone to a clinical grade medical device, and they chose us to be the first podcast they have sponsored. So you check them out. Really cool. Thanks to them. Thanks to all of you guys. This will mark the end of our show. Really appreciate it. And we'll be on our next show, February 11th. This is another live panel on health plans, reinventing the consumer experience. Thank you all. Take care. Good job, everyone.
That was great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was great.
Thank
We're
you
still,
all. I
we
loved
still
it.
have the curtain up. So just so you know,